I Want to Jump Like Dee Dee, with me, Giles Sibbald, is the music podcast that does music a bit differently. I'm talking to some incredible musicians, DJs and producers about how they use an experimental mindset to fuel their own creativity, pursue new challenges, overcome fears, bounce back from mistakes. Today is Tub Thumping Day with one of the most wonderful humans I know. I first met Camille Phillips soon after she joined the Ramonas, and we just clicked. I mean, that's my point of view. Cammy's probably sort of doing the Liz Lemon eye roll at me right now and thinking, like, fuck, we did. I remember I was starting to flail around on the drums myself, and in some moments of despair that, you know, my arms and legs wouldn't do what they were supposed to do, I'd kind of message her with that sort of, head exploding emoji. And she'd be very sort of sympathetic in a way that said, yeah, you're not alone, just get on with it. She really is one of my favorite drummers, not least because she's always smiling, even when she was burning through, like 37 Ramones songs in an hour, but also because her rhythm, style and energy is just phenomenal. And now she's taken all of that into the subways. So I'm really happy that Cammy agreed to come and talk on the show about music, teaching, life, everything else, and mindsets. So Cammy, welcome. Thanks so much for coming on.
Hi. Oh, I've got a really warm heart now after that intro. That was lovely. Thanks, Giles.
Yeah, I didn't mean a word of it, to be honest. So first of all, I mean, I've got to talk about the subways. Sort of that's the kind of big news for now. So it's be mixed emotions, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been playing in the Ramonas for the past 6 years, actually.
Yeah.
At this point, and
6 years. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, kind of weird. Obviously, 2 of those years kind of feels like they never happened because of COVID and stuff. Also, at the same time, we wrote an album and recorded an album in that time, so it was definitely productive in that sense. Just obviously not in the playing live sense. But yeah, 6 years, and just been such a massive part of my life. Under normal circumstances, when there's not a pandemic and there's not Brexit stuff,
all that sort of stuff going on.
As a DIY band, obviously does massively affect things. Under normal circumstances, we'd be playing like 100+ shows a year. It becomes such a massive part of your spending all that time together, and it's just such a big part of your life. So it really, the girls and also Chris and
Chris as well. Hey, Chris.
You feel like a massive family. So yeah, it's a big change, and change is never 100% easy. But also at the same time, I'm excited to
for sure
be playing with the Subways. They're such lovely human beings as well. A lot of exciting things on the horizon there as well. So yeah, as you say, a lot of mixed emotions really. As always, I'm just happy to be playing drums and spending it with people that I love. So.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? That you like what you just said about when you make such a big decision, like you say, you sort of come from the Ramones, which you're right, totally like a sort of family. And I remember like when we went round Germany, when you subjected me to that driving experience. No, I didn't. I obviously volunteered
you're literally like I was the drivers I've ever known.
I'll do it. I was like, oh my god, no.
Consistently just like, I have a coffee, right, let's go for another 12 hours. It's like, whoa, this man is a machine. And again, like you said, always with a smile on your face.
I don't think I surfaced for about 3 weeks after that. I was like, oh, God, I need to rest. I don't know, sort of like Stubbsy and John have done it before, but there you go. But no, it was great. But it was a real sort of family. So that, like you say, that change, there's always kind of uncertainty, in kind of making it. But that's kind of what is exciting as well, isn't it? Going from sort of what's over the other side.
Absolutely. I kind of made a very similar statement to So there's a drummer. He's just passed his grade 8, and he's 10 years old. His name's Sam Bickmore, and he was on the BBC News the other day, and he like mentioning his drumming heroes, and he's a big Subways fan, you know, and he mentioned me on it, which was really lovely.
Oh, lovely.
But he put a little comment on there saying, I really, because I shared his post, he was like, I really hope to be living the dream like you are one day. It's just such a cheeky way of putting it, but I honestly believe this to be the case. It's like the journey. I was like, you are living the dream because you're in the journey. Like, journey is the dream, because if you wake up one day and you have everything you ever wanted, where the hell do you go from there?
Do you go? Totally.
Oh, like this experience that, you know, you learn from, and you have ups and you have downs, and that's what it's all about, because otherwise, you know,
I mean, it sounds like he's going to be sort of keeping you on your toes. Like he's got you in your sight for that Subway's drummer stool already.
Absolutely, the kid's insane. He's such a good drummer.
That's brilliant, isn't it? You know, I mean, that's really, really great. You know, sort of seeing, you know, kids like him, and there's also Nandi Bushell as well.
Oh yeah.
You know, like really kind of phenomenal. And I know you know, you do teaching as well. You sort of teach the drums as well. I mean, what does that sort of give you as well?
Oh, I love it. I mean, you know, obviously certain people want different things from a drum lesson. Some people are like, one day I want to be a pro drummer. Yeah. And you're like, okay, cool. We're gonna take these lessons seriously then, you know. We're gonna put some work in. And some people really just, you know, they want to be there for some kind of outlet. Like I had a new student yesterday, and she said, I'm menopausal and I just want to hit stuff.
Yeah.
Like, awesome. Cool. Okay. So it's kind of like drum therapy.
I can help you with that.
So, you know, it's different things for different people. But I do teach a couple of kids. One of them is just turned 12. His name's Ronnie Harris. I've been teaching him since he was about 7. And he's really into his punk. Obsessed with treacle from Green Day, and he's learned solos and stuff. And, you know, he was already doing this when he was like 10, and I've been teaching him since he was about 7. So,
wow.
You know, so, you know, kids are such fast learners. They almost get to a point sometimes where you're like, yeah, I'm going to run out of things to teach you soon. Where do we go from here, you know? But yeah, I get loads from teaching. I find I learn a lot from teaching as well. No matter what age you're teaching, they'll ask a question sometimes that will make you go, do you know what? I didn't even think of that. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like a two-way learning process, in a way. And obviously I just get loads of satisfaction when I see drummers really accomplish new things on the drum. I love it.
Do you find that you've you know, with the teaching, for example, that you sort of learnt, you know, a bit more about yourself? You know, that you've learned, you know, some other, you know, stuff that the kids kind of bring to you, but also, you know, what you've learned about yourself from teaching, you know, just like a big array of people of abilities, ages, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I think it can sometimes allow yourself to understand things on a different level when you've had to explain the same thing sometimes to people of like many different ages, many different abilities. You kind of break it down to such a place where you kind of understand things on a whole new level, and just how to interact like with people as well. How to explain things in different ways and interact with different people from different walks of life and different I think it definitely helps with communicating as well. Like on a general level.
Where you just got to you know, understand sort of quite quickly, I guess, especially when you know, if you're taking on some, you know, you're like a new sort of student, understand sort of quite quickly what they're about, what sort of things they respond to. what they don't respond to, you know, and so I guess that can sometimes be a bit of a, you know, be a bit of a journey. You know, you don't get it right straight away, and then you've got to think,
Absolutely.
okay, maybe I maybe have to adapt slightly.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know, some kids and adults, whoever really, just responds so much better when you learn songs together because they just
Mm,
want to play music like, you know, most of us do. They don't
yeah,
sit
yeah.
there with sheet music in front of them, um, you know, reading and just like learning a beat. But then some people actually do work better with that because
Mm,
as soon as you put a tune on, they just freak out. They're like, no, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, let's take this slowly and like, you know, kind of more um work better on a more kind of visual basis, breaking things down rather than just playing along
mm.
to music. It's all, yeah, it's fascinating, the range of learning that there is and what works for different people.
What does it, what sort of feelings do you get when you see, you know, like, so you're saying, you know, that you started teaching somebody when they were 7 and they're now what, 10? That
12 years, yeah.
12, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, wow. So that, you know, the progress in that 5 years, I mean,
Mm.
how's that? I mean, that must be a great feeling, that, right?
It's amazing. I mean, it really, I mean, obviously a lot of it is the work that they put in as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
That's what you said, because if they don't go home and practice and they don't love it, you know, he's a very passionate
yeah,
individual. He's got a natural ability and he's got a huge passion for it. It's almost,
yeah.
even at the age of 12, like it is for me. Is if I have a day where I haven't played music, it almost feels like I've just wasted a day of my
Yeah,
life.
yeah,
And
no, I
it's
get it.
such a
Yeah.
huge part of, I feel guilty if a day or two goes by and I haven't played drums, I feel like deep guilt.
Bloody
It's
hell,
just how it is.
I tell
It's
you what, I wish I'd had that when I played the cello. I didn't feel an ounce of guilt.
but you know, there's yeah, it's not always the healthiest way to be at the same time. You know, it's good.
Yeah,
Everyone needs a rest sometimes, but yeah,
but also, I mean, you know, yeah, them your students doing their own practice. I mean, some are, you know, kind of self motivated to do it.
mm,
But also, I think, I mean, you know, all joking aside, looking back to me when I was kind of sort of learning the cello, you know, I didn't want to do it for a lot of the time, and I wanted, like, sometimes, like, my teacher wasn't that much of a sort of people person. Do you know what I mean? And I didn't feel motivated to do it for him.
mm,
But I can totally imagine that your students want to learn and do it for you. That
oh,
you can kind of motivate them to, you know, to kind of do that. So I think that does play a part.
yeah. I think yeah. To be honest, I can imagine for a lot of music teachers how hard it is. I mean, I've got a select
Mm,
few students. I probably teach no more than about 10 people at the moment.
yeah, yeah,
Obviously, I play a lot of shows. I'm away a lot. Uh,
yeah,
most people that teach full time probably have at least like 30 students that
yeah,
they teach a week, and trying to keep on top of all those individual people's needs, motivations, etc. I can imagine is
mm,
really hard work.
yeah,
So for me, I've kind of got a personal level of communication because I've got so
yeah,
few students that I can really just concentrate fully on what makes them tick and what's going to help them improve and what's going to motivate them.
yeah,
As soon as you start getting to those kind of numbers, I can imagine your cello teacher was probably teaching
yeah. He's
30
teaching
to
quite a
40
few.
little U's every
Yeah,
every week and was probably just like, oh my God, uh, whatever.
he
You
was just
know?
fucking miserable, to be honest with you.
I mean, okay, yeah, there is a certain.
I'm only kidding.
So
So I mean, you know, you were, as a drummer, you were self-taught, were you? Did you teach yourself?
not exactly.
No.
I had it was the day before my 13th birthday when I had my first drum lesson at school.
Yeah.
I probably had drum lessons there like weekly for a year or so. Never
Yeah.
had a drum kit at home though.
Mm.
Always practice on a pillow with my sticks at home
Oh,
or
yeah.
my legs, much to my legs dismay when they were all black and blue by the end of it.
DIY right from the start.
So I think maybe part of the reason why, so after about a year of lessons playing drums, I got quite bored with that and took up guitar lessons, and actually learned how to play guitar with lessons at school. Right up until I left high school. Part of the reason probably being because I had a guitar at home that I could practice, but I just had a pillow at home.
Yeah, for the drums,
Yeah, so possibly part of the reason. Although, I do also still love playing guitar, not on a professional level by any means, but I like songwriting, and I like it as an escapism for. But yeah, so I did have some lessons at school, and then when I left school, I studied music straight away for 5 years, got a degree in music. And the instrument, it was kind of a college that taught you more how to be a musician rather than how to be good on your instrument.
Right.
So a lot of the time it did feel like I was self-taught because I had to just teach myself a lot of how to play the songs and things like that. But in terms of working with other musicians, it was so valuable. Learning how to work with other people, that's probably like what I learned the most from going to study.
What was it that attracted you to the drums in the first place? As a sort of kid, as a sort of in those sort of early teens, or
I'd say I was more attracted to music as a whole to begin with. It was always listening to everything, how everything fits together, and some of the bands that kind of ignited that in me were bands like Nirvana and Red Hot Chili Peppers, that generation where Foo Fighters, a lot of those bands were so inspirational at the time, and just completely carefree and passionate, and it was all they just completely let go and were completely in the moment. And I think that's probably a lot of what attracts me to drums, is that it's a very physical instrument that you play. It's very much, when I sit behind the drums, I just feel like it's just like a sense of relief to me. Whereas I feel like when I pick up a guitar, I need a certain amount of control that I don't have.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I can make this sound, half okay, but when I sit behind the drums, I don't know, it's just this massive physical release for me, and I've definitely had to rein that in with studying with teachers myself and stuff, just because I've really wanted to get better at my instrument in the past 5 years. So I started studying with a man called Pat Garvey. He's like the Mr. Miyagi of drum technique. He's absolutely insane, and it was very much like, gonna bring everything from here to here. We're gonna learn a bit of control so that when you need the control, it's there. I'm just absolutely, I've always just been a pretty wild drummer. So.
It's I think that's having that self-control, not to kind of rush into it, or to then to sort of listen to somebody, that you need to have that kind of respect, so that you listen to them and think, okay, I need to kind of rein in that kind of instinct that I have, which is just to sort of like kind of pile in there and just sort of go for it. But this really is the best way to kind of approach it.
That's it. Yeah, you don't want to kind of control yourself so much that you lose that passion and that's inside you, that it wants to come out when you play an instrument. But you also, I don't know, I'm constantly on a mission to just try and make the music feel as good as possible. And I think, to me, that's the most important thing about being a drummer, is trying to make it feel good. I'm by no means like a flashy drummer. I never have been. It's all about trying to make the music feel good for people. I want to make people dance or jump or run around in circles, whatever the music calls for. It's making people feel good, I think.
I mean, drumming really can do that. I think it sort of taps into that, I don't know, just really kind of primal kind of instinct, of the beat.
Yeah, yeah,
It just
definitely.
really does it, doesn't it?
Absolutely. How are you finding drumming at the moment?
I haven't been well, actually. I hardly did anything for 2 years.
Mm.
You know, with sort of COVID and stuff. You know, because like here, I have my like sort of small electric drum kit, but a place here is sort of quite small, so it was just like even with a sort of small like foldaway kit, it was still a pain in the ass to take it down and put it on. You know, there was, or just collapse it and then bring it up again. You know, I guess I was a bit lazy with it as well. And then there's the whole kind of COVID thing. It's like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. But actually, when we were away in Spain, I was picked the sticks up again and started doing more. And I'd actually, like you talking about, you know, with the pillow, I'd just been doing a lot of just without even thinking about it, just, you know, using my hands and just, you know, just doing kind of like that sort of stuff, or just getting some sticks and I had a little practice pad and just doing some of that. So I think I probably was, it didn't feel like it, but I think I was sort of keeping my eye in a little bit.
Yeah.
But when I sat behind it again, it was just such a great feeling.
Yeah.
It really was.
I bet. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So I need to
don't knock the pillow though. You know, the pillow. I started with the pillow. Dave Grohl started with the pillow. Did you know that?
Did he?
He did.
I didn't know that. No.
He's such a hard hitting drummer. He played on a pillow for years and years and years.
Oh,
and
right.
He got behind a kit. He describes it as an athlete training by running through sound. You know how athletes.
Oh yeah, of course.
Sound?
Yeah.
When you play on a pillow, you've got no rebound, so
yeah,
it's like wading through sand. So as soon as you get on a kit, you're like, "Whoa, this is easy," and you're flying around the kit like, you know, just the strength you've got is unreal. So
I'd like to see him do a paradiddle on a pillow. I mean, that would be
it's a very slow paradiddle.
Bit of a slow one, that, wouldn't it? Really, probably about as slow as mine. Oh my! So you? I didn't know you actually studied music as well. So so you said that you then that was more about sort of, I guess, sort of teaching you to become a musician.
Yeah, it was getting a whole group of kids in a room and pretty much saying, right, we're gonna look at this song today.
Yeah.
And learning songs together. You'd put on shows. They'd give you a lot of responsibility. They kind of throw you in at the deep end, which,
yeah,
you know, sometimes I think, oh, it's kind of a funny degree to pay for to teach myself a lot of things. But then also at the same time, I think it was quite valuable because being thrown at the deep end, you know, is, if you're going to any kind of performance industry, is the reality of it, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Teaching you to put things together, to put a show together, to put arrangements of songs together, how to work, just working with other people in such close proximity for hours on end, you know, without talking together.
Well, it's interesting that actually, because you know, there's obviously like a lot of talk about you know how valuable or invaluable degrees are, you know, and whether, you know, if you're going into, you know, kind of paid employment or you know to work for somebody, I suppose, you know, about what sort of degree you do, whether that's kind of relevant, or if it's some of the other kind of experiences that you get from being at uni or from studying, like you say, you know, kind of actually, you know, just kind of like being around people and experiencing life away from home and all that.
Definitely.
If that's actually more important than kind of what you sort of study.
I actually think it is. I mean, there's so many people that do a degree and never really use it on a profession.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
You know, most of those people probably don't look back and think, oh, that was a waste of time, because they probably had a great time doing it.
Yeah.
A lot of, as you say, important life lessons from it. So, yeah.
I think I had a friend, he was at, I forget what he was studying. American Studies and French, I think it was. I think he had about like 2 hours of lessons a week.
Wow.
And that was back when I was there, which is a long time ago. Christ, my 2 hours a week, Jesus Christ! Not so sure how easy to use that, but you know, it's I don't know. Anyway, So the like the experience now of you know, kind of, you know, going into the Ramonas, and you know, then got from. I was talking to Vicky about this when I did an earlier sort of episode. It was about you know, writing your own material, you know, kind of making that transition from, you know, doing Ramones covers into writing your own material. I mean, how did you find that, you know, making that getting that idea and then doing the transition?
I mean, over the years, I've written for and with quite a few bands.
Yeah.
So, and you know, even just writing for myself at home and stuff like that. So I've always been very used to writing for bands and for, you know, maybe even sessions as well, remote sessions for other people. So it's massively important to me to be able to have that side of it as well. I love learning, but I also love writing. And there were a lot of different influences kind of coming in with Ramonas that makes the band sound really quite unique, I think. You know, obviously it's punk rock, but there's a lot of different influences that come in there. You know, I'm a big fan of. So, you know, we've had so many conversations about the kind of music that we listen to, and it's always,
Totally,
you know, anything from electronic music to hip hop, to R&B, to, you know, I got brought up on Motown, and then started listening to rock bands, and I've been a rock drummer ever since. But I definitely, you know, draw from a lot of different areas with my playing. It's focused in rock because I play in rock bands, but I definitely draw stylistically from a lot of different areas. So I try, and even when I'm playing punk rock, I try and bring that all together, because all my favorite drummers are really unique sounding drummers, you know, drummers, like, just as an example of someone who definitely redefined drumming at the time, Stuart Copeland's one of my favorite drummers.
Absolutely.
So unique with his playing style, you know, he brought classic rock and reggae together, basically, pretty much in a way like no one ever had done before. So I love drummers that bring different styles together. So cool.
I mean, he was stunning. Well, still is, but you know, at that time, that what kind of 78, I guess 78 when the kind of, but that kind of golden era of the Police, you know, that, I mean, they were, you know, his drumming was so different, and it was incredibly, I mean, so powerful as well. I mean, just really stylistically very, very kind of different. And I love that, you know, what you said about somebody that does something different and trying different things. I think that's just a great way of kind of like evolving your own band sound, but also yourself as a person.
Yeah, definitely. I think historically, if you look at most of the musicians that have really made a huge impact on people and listeners, they've always drawn from a lot of different places, and bands as well that do that. You know, like, as a really obvious example, a band like Queen. I mean, stylistically, they were all over the place, and then you got Queen. You know, you've got operatics with metal guitar kind of style solos, and it's really important to listen to loads of different music and enjoy.
So did you always have that kind of I guess kind of mindset that, you know, you were just very open to different styles of music? That's just always been who you've been.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's definitely broadened over the years. The longer you live, the more avenues you discover.
There's more stuff.
But yeah, I mean, I got brought up on Dusty Springfield and Diana Ross and bloody
Wow.
That was what my mum used to play, you know, on repeat. And at the time, as a child, you're like, please, something else.
Something else.
And then the other day I was at a record fair and I bought a Dusty record. So there you go. Says it all, really. It's just,
Wow.
It becomes part of your DNA.
Part of your DNA, doesn't it? That's very true. Yeah. I think I remember like my dad's he was like sort of classically trained. I think like I remember Mantovani's orchestra was one of his, apart from all the, you know, kind of like Handels and Beethovens and sort of things like that. But then again, you know, he was into, you know, kind of like artists like, you know, Nat King Cole and Bill Haley and stuff like that. So there was something different apart from classical. I always wondered why I kind of gravitated towards punk rock. I don't know. Can't work it out.
I think for a lot of people, it's that sense of rebellion, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true. What was it? You know, when you were kind of kids, you know, what sort of scenes were you hanging out in? You know, with you know, what sort of friends were you kind of like drawn towards?
Definitely, always hung out with the outsiders.
The outsiders.
Yeah, the kind of weird, crusty kids. I was
yeah.
I was definitely one of the weird, crusty kids. But no, I loved it. There was a great music scene where I grew up as well, especially for kind of. I mean, it was of the kind of era as well, mainly pop punk and kind of that whole emo kind of hardcore scene and all of those kind of styles. There was a great music scene where I grew up. This little place called East Preston, not North Preston.
Not North Preston. That's my Preston up there.
That's your Preston.
Yeah.
East Preston and Angmering, they're kind of just next to each other, and there was a great music scene there, and loads of kids like 14, 15 would be putting on their own gigs already.
Wow.
You'd go down to like a village hall in Angmering and pay your £2 and just watch a 3-band gig that a bunch of 14-year-olds had put on, and it would be good.
Wow. Was that a sort of smallish town?
It was a really small town. Yeah, it was
small,
tiny. Yeah. But it was just it was this school that was there. There would just happen to be a lot of great musicians that went to this school. Sam from the Architects went there. And this drummer called Ben, who's played in a lot of bands. He's playing with Nothing at the moment. Ben Mead, he's playing with Nothing, and so like all these really talented musicians just happened to be there. I think maybe it was just like a community thing, like it just kind of spurred from there. Everyone just really kind of geared each other up and just had such huge passion for it. It was a really cool little town to be in. I remember, you know, the band Enter Shikari.
Yeah.
They used to pass through town a lot, and I used to watch them bouncing off walls in a little pub in Little Hampton. And then I woke up one day and they were on Kerrang, and that was pretty inspiring. It was like, wow, I saw you down the pub like a week ago, and now you're on Kerrang TV. Like, okay,
I can do that.
I can do this.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's the thing. I mean, it sounds really kind of simple, and I sometimes think, you know, these are things not that we take for granted, but we take that, you know that when they happen. I mean, maybe it's me, but I kind of like to look at, you know, what that sort of stuff actually means, and it's kind of inspiring, like that kind of community thing. It's really sort of inspirational for people, you know, to then to think exactly, okay, well, I can do that, and it just brings people together. And I think, especially like these days, when, you know, people are getting, you know, it's harder for people to find common ground amongst each other. These sort of things are just so kind of important for us to have these sort of things.
Yeah, definitely. Encouragement is so important, and community is so important.
And it's also like when those sort of things happen in a small town. I mean, it, you know, if you get some resistance from, you know, other people who kind of live there as well, when you're in that kind of small community, it kind of takes some guts to sort of keep doing it and to sort of follow your, I suppose, like convictions that this is what I want to do. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, especially as a woman, playing drums as well, I've come up against so much self-doubt just because, you know, realistically, obviously times are changing, things are going in the right direction. There are so many so many inspirational women playing drums now.
Absolutely, yeah.
So many, and it's so amazing to see. But I was probably like one of the last generations to grow up at a time when like no other women were really around me playing drums. So and still to this day, you know, sometimes because I still play little gigs down the pub and stuff.
Yeah.
I do like little shows, and sometimes you'll come across people, you'll meet people, and they'll just be like, "Oh, a female drummer, interesting. We'll see how this goes." You know, it's that
My
kind
God,
of.
oh dear.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I mean,
I shouldn't be surprised, really.
it's less frequent now, but it still happens, and so you kind of do constantly feel like you're just kind of like trying to run up this hill of,
Yeah.
of
I mean,
kind of prejudice sometimes still.
I mean, with that, you know, when you were like, let's say that, you know, the only, you know, sort of female drummer on the scene, you know, around about you, did that kind of like anxiety or self-doubt or whatever, self-belief, you know, become sort of hardwired into you? Or did you kind of coach yourself out of it?
I
How
think
did you deal with that?
I've always had good and bad days with it, to be honest with you. Sometimes it puts this sting of like self-doubt in you that can kind of make you fall back for a little bit and just go off course. Sometimes it can just massively ignite this fire inside me that's like, fuck you.
Fuck you.
Do this right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it can go one or two ways, I think. And I think as time goes on,
Yeah.
you learn to just try and navigate your way directly to the latter prior to that, like. And also, to be honest, the older I get, the less I fucking care as well.
Yeah, it's
like,
really true. Yeah.
Like, whatever. I'm doing my thing. I'm having a good time. You can like it or
Yeah.
go over there.
Yeah. No, it's really true. I mean, I think that, I mean, I you know, obviously I'm, you know, kind of like, you know, white male, and, you know, I've still have, you know, kind of lots of sort of privileges, and but I you know, I get the feeling of, you know, sort of self-doubt and self-belief when it gnaws, when that's your personality as well, which it is for me, you know, of self-belief, you know. And sometimes, you know, if you feel, if you get a knock or somebody, you know, kind of criticizing, it's like, am I strong enough to sort of deal with it? And it's a, but yeah, I on the age thing, I definitely agree. As I've got older, my number of fucks has decreased a lot, but it's hard. It's a like it's a constant, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And it definitely takes a certain type of personality to just completely ignore that and get on with
Yeah.
it. But yeah, try to take the positives from it. You know,
Yeah.
I've had those kind of conversations with people before about women in punk rock in particular. You know, would we have had Patti Smith if she wasn't up against, you know, Patti Smith as she is, very, very strong woman? Would we have had those kind of characters in punk rock had they not actually come up against that kind of resistance?
Yeah.
You know, it's an interesting thing to talk about. Obviously, we're heading in the right direction where we don't really want that, but also we have had some great art come as a result of it. So it's an interesting thing to consider.
How are you sort of thinking about you know, kind of like what success means to you now, you know, in terms of your life? It's probably a massive question, and that probably
no, it's
very unfair.
I think, again, as coming out with all the cheesy lines today, but I think happiness is success. Really.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's hard to know what's going to make you happy.
Yeah.
Make decisions in your life and you're like, this could pan out one way or it could pan out this way. You know, we're constantly making decisions that are gonna hopefully change our lives for the better. But yeah, just being happy, and being happy for me usually just means surrounding myself with people that, you know, I really appreciate, they appreciate me. We really get on, can be creative together, keeping a roof over my head, doing what I love. That's the most important thing. I think
Yeah.
got to kind of ground yourself and remind yourself of sometimes. It's like, you just got to, like, don't push yourself to the point.
Yeah.
Like, as you say, what does success mean to you? It doesn't always mean doing everything to the highest level that you can achieve. Sometimes it's just taking a step back and enjoying the simple
Yeah.
creativity and interactions with other
Yeah.
people.
I agree with that. I mean, I think that you know we've it's like sort of been brought up on over the past God knows how many years. That's who I blame. But it's like this kind of thing about that success means like constantly sort of like achieving things, and in terms of sort of tangible things, and it can that can never end, and because you're always like then kind of striving for the next thing. There's almost like this sort of like almost like reverse kind of thing, this constant dissatisfaction because you've not achieved the next sort of stage. So I think that whilst I know what you say, what you said about the happiness is like really fucking important. It's just kind of having that and doing things that line up with your values.
Yeah.
Is the way, really, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very much of a mindset a lot of the time where I am kind of, I'm very hyperactive and I can't sit still for 5 minutes. I'm always thinking about the next thing and where do we go from here? What's the next thing that's going to happen in my life? But I do try and consciously just remind myself to slow down sometimes and just to enjoy the moment that you're in, because yeah,
is that
pass you by if you don't remind yourself that.
is that some of your kind of like always sort of thinking about what's coming? Is that a bit of curiosity? Is that just like wanting to achieve other things, just sort of do different things, always like wanting to explore?
I think it's closely connected to mental health for me personally. If I kind of slow down and stop, it's when I kind of start to overthink things sometimes. And just I feel just at a bit of a loss. Like I'm just a bit lost. I don't know where I am, what I'm doing. If I constantly have something to focus on, it really helps me with my mental health.
Yeah.
Of like just having something to focus on and getting over another hurdle. It's like this constant positive affirmation that you get from moving forwards. But yes, having said that,
so how
I was saying a second ago. Also,
so how do you relax then?
How do I?
You don't. You just don't, do you? You get behind the drum kit. You think, "Oh, I'm going to write a new song." Actually, to be fair, I've done an interview with Will Brooks, who's the guy MC Dialect, the band Dialect. He was saying actually that band is his outlet. That is his kind of mental health, which is interesting. Because it takes him away from the kind of shit of the world into this is his kind of like, okay, this is me at peace doing the music, even though the music is brutally loud, but that's his kind of peace. Interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the beauty of playing a musical instrument, I think, is if ever you are in a bad place with your mental health and your brain's just going off in all these different directions, thinking about all these things, all this chaos. If you sit down and you've got to focus on playing an instrument, your mind is there. It's just it's got to be there, otherwise the limbs aren't all going to work properly.
Yeah.
And it's that focus which definitely just constantly saves me.
Interesting what you like particularly about drumming. Like you say, yeah, you've got to be completely there. Like they're kind of like in the moment, and you can't let your mind wander. So what if you're kind of like writing new songs or thinking of new beats and things like that, if you like things aren't working, what I said in the intro, like when my arms and legs aren't, I mean, it's a different thing, I appreciate that. But how do you get frustrated when things don't work, or do you just kind of like are you kind of quite balanced in how you deal with those situations?
I don't get too frustrated. I do sometimes if I can't play something that I really want to play. Usually what happens is I'll just spend even if it's like one bar of music and I'm like, I really want to be able to play that, I will just spend hours doing it, and I'll be
just doing it,
and I'll just be quite happy doing that.
I tell you, you're too talented. It's not fair.
No, like I go through it like every musician does. You can't do something and then you just really want to be able to do it. And yeah, I know what you're saying. Some people do get really kind of angry and frustrated. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's never really been me. It's just I enjoy the focus so much for the reason that I just kind of was saying, that it just kind of takes me away to another place, and I'll quite happily sit there for like 3 hours trying to play this one thing, because the accomplishment that you get at the end of it is just always just the best feeling, I think.
Would you call yourself a perfectionist?
No, I wouldn't call myself a perfectionist.
No.
Well, maybe sometimes if I'm doing something very specific for someone else, like if I was doing a remote session recording for someone, I'll be a bit of a perfectionist, because I'm like, I want their music to sound exactly right.
Yeah.
But not when I'm playing live or anything like that. I'm far too physical and kind of in the moment to be a perfectionist. It's more about the passion and letting go of yourself for an hour. That's what does it for me, rather than trying to be perfect.
Trying to be sort of perfect in it. Yeah. What about kind of like adaptability? You know how, because I think like adaptability. Either in the different things that you are interested in, like you've kind of got the teaching, songwriting, as well as the the playing, the recording. I just think that kind of adaptability and also just like generally kind of in the moment when things are because the world's sort of really uncertain. I just think it's like a really important kind of characteristic to have. Do you feel that you? It's a really hard. It's a nasty question. I was going to say, do you feel that you're an adaptable person? But well, let's say, do you think that this is an important thing to have, based on kind of with the stuff that you're doing?
Yeah, definitely. I think if in any kind of performance, well, in any kind of art, really, any kind of creative work, that if you want to be self-employed in a creative kind of atmosphere of any description, you need to be adaptable, because it's so bloody hard.
It's so uncertain
out of being creative.
Yes.
So yeah, you kind of just need all these little bits and bobs to keep you going. But also for me, I really, really hate routine. So it's perfect for me. Like I've worked plenty of jobs in my 20s, and just had like basically graduated in a recession. In 2010 I graduated, 21, and just had a massive existential kind of crisis for the next 5 to 6 years, and just did any job I could kind of find to obviously pay my rent and stuff, and I really didn't actually put any time or effort into at that time in my life to really go take music places, because I kind of just accepted at that time that I just had no motivation, because I'd graduated and didn't know really what I was doing or where I was going.
Right. Yeah.
And so I worked a lot of jobs, you know, where it's just very routine, very, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday kind of scenarios. And it wasn't until I got to, I was like 26, almost 27. And I was like, fuck this. And I just had like a revelation. I was like, what am I doing with my life? I'm like wasting my life, not doing what I really want to do. And I kind of just started to take leaps towards what I did want to do. And for quite a while, I was working like 42 hours a week in a drum shop, which was great because that was like obviously of interest to me. And then going and teaching in the evenings, playing gigs at the weekends, and then using all my holiday to go on tour. So it was just like constant, but necessary to make that kind of transition into lifestyle. But yeah, I love the variety of it all. I love kind of like waking up one day and being like, oh cool, so I'm teaching someone different today, and then later I've got rehearsal, and then I've got a gig tomorrow. And I love the variety of it all, which is, you know, a lot of probably what you've got going on for you right now as well, with the podcast and the magazine. And
Definitely, it's interesting. And you know, that variety is, like, on one hand, I find is like really, really kind of like inspiring, and it keeps you kind of agile. But at the same time, it's like, sometimes, I don't know, maybe it's just like an age thing again. Sometimes it's like, oh my god, I can't cope with that. And there is actually something in that you have this kind of like cognitive decline as you get older. It's definitely a thing. I've made a point of researching, because I'm sure I'm feeling it myself as well. You know, where you kind of like can't cope with these amount of things. So, you know, kind of fill your boots while you can. You know, definitely. I think you know, talking about, you know, adaptability, I think, you know, what you did is, I'm glad you mentioned that about, you know, making that transition from sort of working in the drum shop. I remember when you did that, you know, making that transition. It's like, okay, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. You know, to doing the teaching, doing the full-time musician thing, you know, and sort of teach thing, which is really courageous to do that, to make that transition.
Yeah, it it kind of felt very scary at the time.
Yeah,
Oh my god,
I bet.
am I gonna be able to pay my rent this month? Who knows?
Yeah.
but but the kind of irony of it all is that obviously, like, the less that you're working, the more free time you have
Yeah.
to then embark on all these
Great
things
point.
that you wanted to do in the first place. So it's like having the courage to be like, okay, I'm just gonna have faith that things will come my way.
Yeah.
I want to be doing.
Yeah. It's almost like, I think that, I mean, that's a really good point. It's like, almost like, it feels to me like your kind of gut instinct was sort of kicking in, and just saying to you, you can do this. This is something that you can do. And then you're kind of battling against the doubt and the uncertainty of actually kind of doing it. But I think this is a really good kind of life point, you know, that instinct is like really powerful, and it's quite often the right thing, because it kind of knows who you are and what your abilities are.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm often quite thankful for actually, you know, working like loads of like I left home when I was 17, so
Yeah.
I've paid rent since I was
Paid your
17
way.
years old.
Yeah.
And so I've naturally, having done that, you know, had a lot of jobs and odd jobs and done
Yeah.
random things over the years, and I'm actually really grateful for that, because a lot of what keeps me motivated um, to play the drums all the time, and to play music all the time, and to make as many connections as possible is the fact I've been there and I've done that, and I really don't want to go back and do that.
Yes.
It's like every day I wake up and like I feel more kind of more thankful than I might feel otherwise if I hadn't have done all those other things. If I just kind of was fortunate enough to graduate and then start touring the world with some massive band, say, I probably wouldn't appreciate the position I'm in now as much as I do having not done that.
Yeah, that's a really good point, though, actually, about how you know, sometimes you need to go through those experiences to make you know that you don't want to go back to them.
Yeah, it's a bit like some relationships.
Yes, it's true.
We've all had them.
We've all had them. We've all had them. Absolutely, absolutely. Brilliant. So tell me what's coming next for Subways? Oh, I got my ticket for. Can you still hear me?
I can.
You can. I have these headphones, and sometimes when I get a bit excited, I press them, and there's like controls on the side there, and I just heard a beep, and I thought, oh, I've switched it off, but anyway, I haven't done. So I got my ticket to come and see you in Berlin, one of my favourite cities.
Amazing.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I'm so excited to go back to Germany.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the next thing for the Subways. Just released a new single and video to go along with that.
Yeah.
So that's out now, and then got the German tour in May, and then some UK dates at the end of the year, alongside the new album release as well. So
I guess that Subways play quite a lot of quite big festivals as well.
Yeah. There's definitely some festivals there on the list. Yeah. So the next thing is Germany, and that's what I'm seeing. I love Germany. So.
I'm just so excited about that.
And I love German people. I was having a conversation with my friend yesterday about why we love German people so much. And I was like, the best way to describe it is that they are like the perfect balance of being totally chill, but totally blunt at the same time.
Yes.
They're so chilled out, but they will also tell you exactly how it is with like no bullshit. And I love that. I love that.
Yeah, actually, we need more of that, don't we? We need more of that. Less of the sort of the you know kind of like farting around the edges, just like this is sort of how it is, but in a totally sort of chilled way. It's like, yeah, that's kind of what you want.
Definitely. Yeah.
Fab.
So,
brilliant.
Can't wait for that. And I can't wait to see you there as well. That's going to be
fun. Can't wait. I've just got to I think I've worked out how to get there. I feel like I've achieved something today. I need to go and have a lie down now. It's brilliant. Cammy, thanks so much. That's been fantastic. Great to see you again. Lovely to chat. Thanks for listening to the show, and I really hope that you enjoyed it and that you'll tune in for the next episode. In the meantime, it would be really awesome if you could rate and review the show, and also share it with any friends who you think might enjoy it.